Well, good morning, everyone. Thomas Montgomery here. We get together with our distribution partners most weekday mornings, this time 8 o'clock Central. Today is Monday, May 16th, 2022. For many of us, today is tax day, isn't it? If you have a 501c3 nonprofit that you operate, you need to get your filings in today if you run on a calendar year basis. All right, so two announcements, I guess. The first of which is we're going to start a new curriculum on our daily Zoom calls tomorrow. A group of us met in the Houston area over the weekend, and that's why we didn't have a session on Friday. And we have now completed a really interesting guide. It's 125 steps, step by step, of how to properly set up a business. And oh my goodness, yes, it really is 125 steps. So we're going to start going through those on tomorrow's training. And some days we'll get through a couple steps, others maybe just one. Some are more complicated than others. But I think it's a really fascinating curriculum that we'll go through together. And hopefully you'll enjoy that one. To thank those of you that were involved with helping put that together over the weekend in Houston. Secondly, we are looking at the funding proposal.online. We had a few hiccups last week in the relaunch, but I believe all is good now. So we had a couple hiccups with the application having a couple glitches, and then we were just inundated. I think it ended up being, I think the number I saw is 535 of these came in last week. And so we weren't staffed for that, but we've adjusted for that. We have new staffing, and so we'll make sure that everything from last week is caught up, and looking forward to a great week this week. So let's go back and revisit why this might be a campaign that you, as a distribution partner, want to take out to the marketplace. So we have, and I can bring it up. So we have the 4-week funding. And this is nice. This really helps bring small businesses in, builds their financial literacy, builds the loan package, and then, of course, prepares them for funding. So there's nothing wrong with the free 4-week funding program, and it's one of the two primary campaigns that you have available. So nothing's changing, nothing's wrong with this. What we're seeing, though, is a lot of people want to go to funding immediately. And so if you have a prospect that isn't wanting to wait to go through the 4-weekly modules, they just want to go to funding right now. Now, of course, we'll get them whatever funding they qualify for now that gets you paid, which we'll talk more about in a second. And then we can continue to build our loan package and get them more. But we're seeing 100% approval, and it's stated here. So let's go through this value proposition one more time and make sure that you're familiar with it. And again, when you're a business developer, a technical advisor, as you and I are, we need to understand what campaign we want to run with. Now, you can offer either of these, but most people will become less effective if they don't have a sole focus. And so I would encourage you to understand how each campaign works, but I think you're going to get maybe the most traction with the free funding proposal.online. Okay, so what is the pitch that you and I are offering small business owners, regardless if they're pre-formation, pre-revenue startup, or existing? It's to get a free funding proposal for small business financing. And it is true. What you and I know, and I have this conversation with clients so often, a lot of entrepreneurs don't see the trees for the forest. And so they're always thinking, well, I don't qualify. Well, you don't qualify for what? There's many, many different sources of capital. Not all of them look at credit, right? So, and certainly not all of them look at time in business. So while we're only doing an express simplified application, we can get everyone approval of some type. Take a client we had this morning. I'll leave his name out, but he's got pretty crappy credit, but he came in and we ended up getting him 7 funding offers this morning. He got a line of credit, which is good. A lot of people like the line of credit so that we can pull from it when you need. and you don't have any interest cost if you don't need to pull from it. It's kind of like a credit card, but established line of credit. So even with bad credit, he got a line of credit for his business this morning. And then also, I think the maximum term loan he got was $10,000. So, I mean, that's not all the capital that this gentleman wants, but that's what he qualified for now. Get him funded now. And so then we can go ahead and then build out his loan package, build his credibility, and we guarantee him at least $100,000. Some people will qualify for all the $100,000 immediately. Others, we need to get the documentation put together. And again, for those of you that are coming on late, good morning and welcome. So starting tomorrow, we're going to be going through what I think is an amazing curriculum that we finished up in the Houston area over the weekend. Several of you helped with that. And that it's a 125-step guide to setting up a business properly. I mean, we're breaking it down into minute steps, not meant to intimidate or overwhelm people, but part of that, of course, addresses if we have the business set up properly, then we qualify for more funding. So the concept here with fundingproposal.online, let's get them whatever they qualify for right now. Let's get you paid right now. And we'll talk about that payment in just a second. And then let's build up their loan package, build up their credibility. All right, so let's go on through and talk about this proposition to the client, and then we'll come back and make sure all of you are clear on how you financially benefit by driving people in for a free funding proposal. Because it has to be a win-win. It has to be good for the client, must be good for you. So there's embedded YouTube video here, and we stated, and I really like this message, getting money to start or grow a small business shouldn't be difficult. And this simplified app, it's now online. They don't have to wait for a DocuSign or an Adobe to come to them. They'll be able to fill it out online quickly. Again, we had a couple glitches with this last week. That's all resolved. So we're ready to turn the volume to high. And once you understand the comp for you, I think you'll want to do that. So literally in less than 5 minutes, they'll complete a simple application. As they get funding offers, they are not required to accept the funding offers. Let's take the gentleman this morning that got both a line of credit and he got several loan offers, what we call term loans with a defined period of time. Business loans often will be a 10-year repayment term, but not always. Could be more if real estate or capital equipment's involved, but a typical business loan will be a 10-year repayment, which is good, keeps payments low. But the point is, they're going to get offers, and they don't have to accept any of those offers. And certainly there's no hard inquiries. So the 2-minute video is helpful for the prospect to watch. And really, it's as simple as driving people to this page. Now, some of you have your own marketing campaigns. So you're generating the lead to yourself, and then you redirect them to here, which is fine. But once this information, this basic information is put in, it will take them to the next step, and we'll get the minimum data set that's needed to be able to get them a funding offer. And again, what type of funding offers might they get? It depends upon their circumstances. What you and I know is that personal credit is not used for all sources of capital. Sometimes business credit's used, sometimes cash flow, sometimes collateral. There's different sources of capital that we will look at. So with that, who has any questions regarding the client proposition for the free funding proposal? If you have any questions, comments, concerns, you can go ahead and put that in the chat box or the question and answer. Let's go back to what's in it for you, and then we'll answer the questions that you have. So if you're a referral partner, essentially what we call an affiliate, but if you're a referral partner, you can refer people here. Now, you can put their information on this page if you'd like. You can collect it from them via Craigslist or your website, however you want, and put their information in here and get it started. But after that, they need to fill out the rest, because they're filling out the app, and the chances are you don't know enough about their business to fill out the app. And then they're agreeing to the terms and conditions, because if we go get them funding, we need to make sure you get paid. And if they're not under the terms and conditions, an agreement, then there is no assurance you get paid, which I'll go through payment in just a second. So it is just fine if you want to drop this information in for your prospects, hit submit, then you'll stop. There's nothing else you need to do. And then they'll be prompted. And in fact, Scott Stroud, our Chief Marketing Officer, has done an amazing job on this campaign. So they'll get follow-ups to their cell phone. They'll get follow-ups to promote, to prompt them to complete the email. So we're seeing a really high conversion rate of people coming into this portal, this campaign, because of the follow-up and the ease to the client. It used to be that we would collect the information and have to send them Adobe, and maybe they didn't see the Adobe or they didn't recognize what it was for. Here, it's systematic. So if they come, so I guess it's good, better, best, right? I think best would be if the client themselves filled out this form, but it's not required. Better is of course, you filling it out and letting them know that they're going to get a follow-up to complete the application. Good would be just dropping it in here cold. We won't see near the conversions if you just drop people in here cold. You can do that, and that's okay. They'll be prompted, but they're kind of getting these prompts out of the blue. So good, better, best. Best is if you have them fill this out. Better is you fill this out, but they know that they're going to be getting follow-ups to complete the funding proposal out. Good, which is better than nothing at all, is you just dropping prospects in on this form, which is fine as well. Okay, so what's in it for you? So as a referral partner, you make 5 points of the client's capital raise. Anyone that comes through the funding proposal, we're guaranteeing them in writing, guaranteeing them a minimum of $100,000 of capital raise. Now, what form of capital? Might it be an SBA loan? Might be, might not be. Would it be a line of credit? Maybe. Is it under their EIN? Possibly. I mean, we'll have to see what they qualify for initially, and then we can build out a plan to get anything that they didn't get up front based upon their preferences. So you get 5 points. So we know the client's going to get at least 100,000 by going through the process. Some of them will get 100,000 in the first 30 days from just this first tranche, from this first round. That's great. That's not normal though. A lot of clients will get 4 to 7 cash funding offers totaling 10 to 30,000 is common. Certainly could be more, could be as much as 100, but it just depends upon their qualifications. So you know you'll make $5,000 for each client that you submit in here or direct here that completes the process. In other words, raises at least 100,000. Now we do it. We're working on many capital raises, client capital raises, where they're looking for much more than 100,000. So you're not capped at 5,000. We just use that as an easy reference point. Client agrees to accept at least 100,000 by going through this campaign, this portal, the free funding proposal. We've promised to pay you 5 points of that. So the math is it should be at least 5,000 for those clients you submit that goes through the process. Could certainly be more. Didn't cost anything to be a referral partner, so no strings attached there. Okay, so we've covered what's in it for the client, which is a funding proposal. They'll get instant or near instant funding offers. And again, I realized last week we didn't see the timeliness that we expected. We had a few glitches to work out, but we'll have last week's business caught up, and we'll keep current going forward. So we've got the capacity now, and the process is tweaked. And so the client's going to get a funding proposal for what they qualify for right now. Immediate funds, doesn't cost them anything to get started with this process. And then we will work with them to raise a minimum of 100,000 in writing, guaranteed. They may get all that up front. They may not. We may have to build up the loan package and build their credibility up first. It will just depend upon the client. So great proposition for the client. And then for you, you're making 5 points, right? 5 points off the client's capital raise. Okay, so let's get into your questions. Magnus has his first question, and he has our first question, sorry. And it's asked, if they fill this out themselves, would they be able to sign terms and conditions? Well, of course, Magnus. So we are going to go from this page of getting their basic information, and then the next page, we're going to be able to get their application data, because there is no funding if we don't have enough data, and it's not real intrusive, so nothing extreme. And then they'll agree to the terms and conditions, and then that'll notify us, and we'll be able to go get them their funding offers. So it goes back, Magnus, to think what I described: good, better, and best. Best would be if the client fills this out from the get-go. Better, which is second best, in other words, you fill this out for them, but you let them know that they're going to be getting a follow-up via email and text to finish it. And then good, the third best option is just to drop people in here blindly, and some people will go ahead and proceed with it. But if they know to expect it, they're going to obviously be more likely to fill it out. But I know some of you just drive in massive volume by frankly putting in cold leads through the system. And if that's what you want to do, that's fine. We couldn't accommodate that well before, when we were collecting the lead information and then sending them Adobes, because a lot of people were getting Adobes and they're like, what the heck is this? Because the referral partner didn't alert them, or was just distributing it to a wide list. And so in this case, good, better, best. Best would be the client fills this out. Next best is you fill it out for the client, but let them know that they're going to be getting a follow-up via email and phone to complete it. And good, the third best, is just simply to drop leads in cold. Hopefully that answered your question, Magnus. And so ultimately, though, it's good. Well, it's going to be rare that you have the information to complete the client's application. And I don't know that you should be doing that anyway, unless you have a power of attorney. And then they have to agree to the terms and conditions, because if they don't do that, then you're not going to get paid, right? We're not going to get paid. No one's going to get paid, because we'll just be getting them capital for free, which is admirable, but that's not very financially rewarding for you. So you don't want to be filling out terms and conditions for them unless you have power of attorney. So that is Magnus's question. Thank you, Magnus. David asked, do we use this? And so thank you, David, for the question. So again, there's different campaigns. This is not intended to be confusing. We have different campaigns that are available. And so each of you as a distribution partner are able to decide how you want to go to the marketplace. What a number of you are doing is feeding people into the free 4-week funding program, getting a free landing page. It looks just like this. And then you drive people to your landing page. You'll have a unique link. It'll be similar to this, but it'll be slightly different. It'll be unique to you. And you could drive people into this, and then this box is hard coded to you. And then as they're going through the 4-week funding program, in other words, the prep, this is the prep work to go to funding, then at any time we can help them go ahead and get their funding started if they want, or wait until the end of the 4 weeks. So if you take this, what we'll call the 2-step approach, then you will have a unique link to drive people to, and you won't have to worry about them remembering to put your information, because all of this will be hard coded into our CRM to you. So if that's the type of campaign that you want to operate, that is perfect. If instead you want to go directly to the market with fundingproposal.online, then this is the form. And I don't believe at this time Scott is creating replicated websites off of this. Those that want their own link, their own replicated website, are typically doing the 2-step process, bringing them here first. And frankly, it was intended that we would gather that information and then go to funding at the end of the 28 days, the end of the 4 weeks, as it's called, 4 weeks. But frankly, if the client wants to go to funding even sooner, we can do that. And this is how we would do that. All right, let's see questions here. Okay, I think we covered that. And so again, let's summarize what we covered. Starting tomorrow, a really big deal is happening. A group of us have spent a lot of time and a lot of effort. There's a lot of intellectual capital built into this, and it's a 125-step step by step by step, little bitty steps of what it takes to set up a successful business. And so it's going to take us a while to go through that curriculum. We won't get through it tomorrow, obviously, but we're not going to rush through it. Probably tomorrow, all we'll do is just do a superficial review of the 125 steps. And then each day we get together at the Zoom, then we'll pick up where we left off. So we'll start going through the steps and having a really deep discussion off of each. I think you'll find this profound, because it is that minute step-by-step action plan that any business should follow. Now, not all steps will apply to all circumstances, but I think you'll be really impressed. So we'll get started with that tomorrow. What we've been discussing today is just a review of the funding proposal.online. It can be the second step after you've brought someone through the free 4-week funding program, where we're doing the prep work first, then we take them to funding. Or if you have clients that want to go directly to funding, you're welcome to drop them in here. We talked about good, better, and best. Best is if the client completes this completely themselves, because when they hit submit, it'll automatically take them to the app. They'll be able to complete the app, accept the terms and conditions, and we'll be able to get funding offers for them right away. Next best would be for you to fill out the client's information, so you're not driving them here. You have more control. Obviously, you're not going to forget to put yourself as the referral source. And then you would stop after submitting them. The system would follow up with them via email and text, a great campaign that Scott Stroud, our Chief Marketing Officer, has built to complete the process. So that's second best. Third best is just to drop in cold leads here and again submit them, but you would stop after that. They would get the follow-ups. The point is, if you're just putting in cold leads, they don't know this is coming, they're not expecting it, and so the conversion rate is going to be lower. But if you've got a big list of small businesses and want to do that, that's perfectly fine. The system follows up with them with a number of efforts via both email and text to encourage them to complete the application. All right, David asked about overrides. So absolutely. So we have what we call the regional vice president role. Does not cost anything to become a regional vice president, so worry not about that. And so you would just get with Scott Stroud, our Chief Marketing Officer. He would get you set up with a landing page specific to you to be able to recruit in distribution partners. And as a regional vice president, doesn't cost anything. Then you get 2.5 points override. So let's just use an example. So David is asking questions. So let's say that David brought in Lon. And so Lon is one of our distribution partners. Lon brings in a client. Let's just say the client got an even 100,000 capital raise. Lon gets 5,000 by getting that client in through the process. Lon's pretty happy, right? Lon spent a few minutes, if that, in getting the client to fill out the app or putting the client's information in. So Lon's a happy camper. Well, David, in this case, this hypothetical example, brought Lon in. So David gets an override of 2.5% or $2,500 for all the work, all these clients that Lon brings in. So if you want to be a regional vice president, it just means you're a headhunter, you're a recruiter. You can also generate clients yourself, but you don't have to. But we need to get you a Scott Stroud to get set up to do that, because you'll have to have, which is separate from either of these. It actually is this 4weekfunding.com. You'll get a website that is replicated that looks like this. And so then when you submit people in to become a distribution partner, then you're getting plugged in override. So it's developed into the system. So, but Scott needs to create a page like this that's coded specifically to you. Therefore, you automatically get credit the override that's built into the system. We're trying to obviously get everything automated rather than manual as it had been originally. All right, thank you for that question, David. And then, and it's Scott at smartmoneyalliance.org. So if you want to be set up as a regional vice president, just email Scott at smartmoneyalliance.org. Super simple. All right, so then John's got a question about capital raises. So clients that come into the free 4-week funding program are not obligated to do a $100,000 capital raise. We're going to build their for free, right? It's grant subsidized fully, $0 cost. So we're going to help them build their financial literacy, build their loan package out, help them get credible on paper, to get their business credible on paper, and that there's no minimum funding requirements for the free 4-week funding program, so that we're good there. In contrast, the funding proposal model is set up off of raising at least $100,000, because that it just makes it worthwhile. It's just like if you go to Wells Fargo, Bank of America, Chase, and if you went in and asked for a really small business loan, they typically are not that motivated, because it takes them pretty much the same amount of time and effort to go get a small loan processed as it does a larger one. And so we want to make sure that you're getting enough funding to be worthwhile for your commissions. So you're right, John. Clients that are coming through this, we're guaranteeing them a minimum of 100,000, and then that they're agreed to accept that. John's question, though, is interesting. He's saying, well, what if the client only wants 65,000? Well, usually when you break that down, what do they want the 65,000 for? Does that leave them with 6 months of working capital in their bank account so they have liquidity in case there's unexpected expenses or interruption to income? Typically not. So it's really not that difficult to help a client realize that instead of 65, why don't we go for the full 100? Why don't we get you a company car? That company car can fall under Section 179 of the IRS tax code and be written off in advance instead of depreciating over 5 years. And you actually get money back from the IRS by buying a company vehicle. Plus, the vehicle is 100% tax deductible. So if we have a conversation, it is very rare that we can't show a client that having access to a minimum of 100,000 is smart and better for them. But John's question is, what if they don't want 100,000? Then you're going to want to bring them into the free 4-week funding program and not into the funding proposal, because this is based off of raising at least 100,000, getting you at least $5,000, and getting the RVP that brought you in at least 2,500. Just once you get to too small of numbers, it's not worth the time and effort, unfortunately. Thank you, John, for that question. Okay, and so Hannah's got a great question. So yeah, the overrides, so the RVP, you'll get a page that'll be just like this, and it'll be coded to you, Scott Stroud. Email him at scott@smartmoneyalliance.org. He can get that for you, and then you'll be able to market, bring in distribution partners. They're going to fall under the white label partnership role. And then when they fill, you'll have a page that looks just like this. And then when they're filling this out to get plugged in as a distribution partner, a referral, well, we'll call it a distribution partner, then this will be coded to you, automatically be linked in the system, and you'll automatically then qualify for the 2.5 points, which again is $2,500 minimum per client. So that is right, Hannah. Okay, so wrapping it up, great conversation today. Sorry we missed a couple sessions last week. Again, a group of us met in Houston over the weekend, including Friday, and put together, well, finalized this 125 step by step of how to properly set up a business. I don't know that anyone has ever put together to this level of detail and exactness. So we're going to start going through that together on our daily training starting tomorrow. Today, what we talked about is just reminding you, well, I guess thanking you for your patience, because we had a crazy amount of volume last week. We ended up having a few glitches with the app and with follow-up. All that has been resolved. We're getting caught up with any overages there, but we're ready to go. We've got additional staff allocated to this now. So this is a great way to help small businesses and earn a minimum of $5,000 yourself. If you want to earn the overrides, you're welcome to do so. You become a regional vice president, costs nothing. You just get with Scott. He sets up a page that looks similar to this, and then you'll be able to drive your people here, and then they'll be able to get at it. All right, well, thanks everyone. We'll see you back tomorrow, and we'll get started on that very exciting curriculum on the 125 steps of how to specifically set up a business properly. Thanks everyone. See you tomorrow. Bye-bye.